Will Deltarune become a great video game? Yes. But it's not done yet. And what we're here to talk about is Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. And I gotta say, this is rough. So, I know that a lot of people liked the Chapter 1 Deltarune demo when it came out all those years ago. And I know why they liked it. It's because of all the Undertale characters. I mean, all of the new character designs were kind of questionable, at least in my opinion. Rousey looked great, and Chris looked good. But in my opinion, that's about it. And by far, everybody's favorite characters were the Undertale characters that were returning, which didn't really make sense because we were told by Toby Fox that these characters aren't the same characters. Different dimension, different timeline, whatever. So it's already kind of stupid that Chapter 1 kind of had its highlights be those Undertale characters. And when you go to the actual main story of Chapter 1, it's all about Lancer and his father. And in my opinion, it's very, very bland and basic storytelling. However, we are now in Chapter 2. And I was pleasantly surprised with the direction they went in. They established the class a lot more, and it wasn't just all about Susie and what she was doing like it was in Chapter 1. Which, obviously that's her introduction during Chapter 1, so of course she's going to be the main focus. But it's nice to see other characters doing stuff again. Which, of course, in this case, Birdly and Noelle were the new characters they were showing off, so of course they got the talking lines. I don't think we even know the names of the other characters, so maybe I'm giving too much credit here, but I like the characterizations of Birdly and Noelle very well, compared to Susie being pretty much a 2D bully character archetype. And unfortunately, that's where the problem kind of occurs, because when you're in the light world, the town, that's easily when the game is at its best. That's when all the mysteries and the payoffs, are going on before the Dark World story and after the Dark World story for each chapter. And it's true that that's a good structure, and I don't know any better structure you could do with that, really. But at the end of the day, that's only about 5, maybe 10% of the game, I guess, but mostly just 5% of the game. So it's not enough to just drag the game from the depths of its questionable game designs. Because then you go to the Dark World, and I'm fine with how they're doing its world building for now, but of course we don't know anything about how many Dark Worlds are there going to be. I mean, obviously there's 7 chapters, but how many Darkners exist? Because it just is obviously just feeling like, and then there were more, and then there were more, and then there were more, and that's gonna happen every chapter. They're not gonna establish, hey, here's this family, and they're trying to create their own little worlds using the fountains. No, we got nothing like that. No grander structure. It's just gonna get made while we're playing it over the next chapters. And so we're introduced to Queen in this chapter, and I actually do like her a lot, but she's pretty basic and memey, and she's good. Very funny. Great. By far the best part of the entire chapter. And so we go through the chapter, and we get to know Noelle once we get separated with Susie. which, by the way, in my opinion, it wasn't a very good chapter at all until you get to the part with Noelle and getting to know her. Before that, the Susie and Rousey stuff just sucked. Just kind of basic and boring. At least they bonded together off screen, but anyway, so we're hanging out with Noelle and getting to know her, and then we also eventually get to know Birdley and his gamerness, and it's all kind of funny, but it doesn't really feel like it's building upon a grander narrative. It's all very self-contained. It feels very much like we're learning about a classroom in school at the end of the day. That's kind of all that matters. We learn about different tropes that you know about from real life school. The nerds, the bullies, the quiet kids, etc., etc. At least that's where we're building on so far. And then we're gonna end up seeing some of these tropes either delved into and dissected in a way, or it's going to have their dynamic change for the better. Kind of make them more three-dimensional, to be fair, but they stay fairly two-dimensional for the most part. Birdley kind of just treats everything like a video game in this whole thing. And yeah, you get his tragic backstory thing, but it doesn't make him a good or likable character. And Noelle's fine, I guess. It's fun to hang out with her, and that's about it. Nothing too memorable. And the world that this fountain created is nice, but just like the previous world, not very memorable. It feels just like a picture book. That's the feeling I get while I play this game so far. It's just, here's this world, it's a picture book with cardboard cutout characters and locations. And then there's the real world where the real stuff happens, kind of. And it's especially bizarre when early on in Chapter 2, Rousey tells you to grab a whole bunch of junk or games or something in that one classroom, and you bring them in, and then that creates all the Darknor characters. That's weird. That's not really what the lore was in Undertale, and I understand this is completely different lore, or at least I assume it's completely different lore, but that's just way too drastic of a change compared to what we had before, which was monsters are just a different type of life form that just works differently than humans, not they are from a different dimension, really. But fine, this is a new game, so okay. So anyway, then you get some crazy kooky characters and some returning characters, and honestly, I'm not gonna even go into them because they're fine. It just feels like they were created to be wacky or annoying, and you just really feel their purpose as you meet them and talk to them. So, anyway, you get to the end, you have a nice quirky fight with Queen, and I mean, the reveal about the lore with the true purpose of the fountains and stuff was pretty interesting, but again, we'll see if it actually ends up mattering later or how it affects the story. But I do like that Queen just willingly comes with us, so that's nice. And then you go home and the crazy stuff happens, and again, it's the real world, so it feels like the real important stuff happens. And there's also a new gameplay mechanic that has been introduced, which is that when you spare enemies, they become part of your recruits. We don't know what this means. It's kind of just a nebulous pacifist route, presumably. Which is weird because I heard that there will be one ending. That's what I heard. At least that was the plan 1 or 2 years ago. But yet we can recruit a whole bunch of people. I'm not sure where they're going with this. It could go in a lot of different directions, but I mean, I guess there's just too little information to even guess on what that could possibly lead to. So it's going to be a little annoying that you're going to have to probably go back and play Chapter 1 all over again once all the other chapters come out. Like maybe they're going to introduce new equipment or new mechanics that won't completely be used correctly unless you start from Chapter 1. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I mean, we're on track right now for this to be a 60-plus hour game for sure, unless some of the later chapters are far shorter. I suppose it's possible. But yeah, so for now, we know nothing about future game ideas. They're just hinting at a lot of stuff in Chapter 2. And again, Queen was great, and that's about it. And this would be where the video ends, where I'm very disappointed, and this all kind of feels like Chapter 2 was like a 6 out of 10, and Chapter 1's like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. And I mean, yeah, if you include the Undertale characters, oh my gosh, it's a 10 out of 10. But you know, this isn't Undertale, so everything that happened in Undertale didn't happen to these characters. They might as well not even look like the Undertale characters. I'm not sure what the point of making them look like Undertale characters even does, other than creates nostalgia connections to these random NPCs who otherwise aren't important at all. So far, there was some hint that something big might happen at the end of Chapter 2, but I won't say anything about that. So that would be the end of this review, except then I heard about the Snowgrave route. What an intriguing idea. Obviously, Toby Fox wanted to make a completely different type of route, I suppose. It's a little bizarre. Again, like I said, I heard that there was only going to be one ending to this game, so why would there be routes? Unless it's all going to just kind of end the same, but the only difference is whether people live or die, I guess. But either way, it's the same ending. That seems kind of bizarre. But it's especially weird because Chapter 1, as far as I know, had no genocide route, no alternate route as far as I'm aware. And yet you have this Snowgrave route, this brooding, this awe-inspiring message in which you've been friends with Noelle your whole life. Or, you know, Chris has. However you want to interpret the whole Chris and his soul thing. But Chris and Noelle have been friends their whole life. And Noelle is a pushover. And they delve into this in such an interesting way by making it so that you can make Noelle do kind of anything you want. Especially in this world where she's not even sure if anything's real or not, or has any real consequences, just like we aren't sure either. And so you go through the route and you start killing everything, with her specifically, and it's just so good. It does remind me a lot of the genocide route from Undertale, but I felt like in Undertale, the genocide route was just there to kill the world, and the world didn't really react to you much except for like 2 or 3 instances, and that was about it. And, by the end of the game, you're just a mindless killing machine. You're just basically the Terminator in Genocide Route in Undertale. But then in Chapter 2 of Deltarune, it feels like you're some malevolent puppet master, some grand villain, as you manipulate Noelle into doing everything you want her to do, as she becomes more and more dependent on you, so that even later it's hinted that she's doing things to help you even when you don't ask her to. Maybe. I mean, to be fair, at the end you are asking Noelle for help, and she does come, so we don't know where she was before this. Would she have come if you hadn't yelled for her? I mean, it seems like she wouldn't have, but that just kind of makes me think that it made her dependent on you. So instead of fostering a sense of independence in the normal route, you foster dependence, which of course is not good, especially when you're a freaking student and all you're learning is that you should do what this one other person tells you to do. It can definitely lead to bad things later in life for all types of reasons, of course. And so you manipulate her into freezing Birdley to death in one of the most outstanding scenes in video games. Like, if you play enough video games, there's nothing to compare this to, in which you manipulate a friend into murder in a game where murder doesn't really exist. That's just so off-putting, so intense. And of course, it's a little lame that after Noelle leaves after that, the route's kind of basic. It does fall back into being more like the Genocide route in Undertale. Just everything's afraid of you, you're kind of skipping ahead in the story, things aren't quote-unquote going right or in the right order or whatever. But to be fair, this is supposed to be a secondary route. I can't imagine anybody playing this for their first playthrough. It'd be pretty weird. But I'm actually in favor of doing the Genocide route and not even bothering with the main route. The main route just is the most simplified story imaginable. There's nothing profound or really that memorable at all from what I can think of, except for perhaps for the final battle, of course, with the mecha, since that won't happen if you do the Genocide route. The Snowgrave route is kind of the evil side of what Birdley was doing. Birdley was doing it in a friendly / necessary way from his point of view. But the Snowgrave route is entirely selfish and pointless, other than to manipulate Noelle for your own malicious goals. And it's concluded so perfectly after they come back to the light world, and you see how Noelle has changed, whether consciously or unconsciously. Her decision-making has been altered, corrupted. She now views winning and becoming stronger as the most important thing, which could be okay, except for this nagging feeling in the back of her head of a dream that she doesn't want to believe in, of a change occurring within her that she wants to deny with all her soul. But yet she is compelled to accept this change. And it makes you wonder, where could this story go? Where could this line of thinking lead Deltarune? That is what I'm interested in. That is the story I want. No matter how cruel and intense it may get, that produced the most damning and pure emotions in the entire game, without any doubt. While the fun was fun, it was still mostly very surface level, very memey. But Snowgrave was impactful, memorable, emotional. And I just can't wait to see if this line of thinking can continue across many different personality types and into other worlds with themes that are just as bizarre or simple as we've seen in Chapter 1 and 2. There are plenty of secrets to be found, even in the normal route of Deltarune. But the character secrets and changes that are possible in these alternate routes are why I'm going to keep playing Deltarune all the way to the end. Thanks for watching, and please check out my other videos. See you next time.